Furlough3.com. Today is July 28th, 2016. This is the Black Star Update Report connected to Volume 30 of Terrell's 2016 newsletter. And we're still going through the lull period, so the update is going to look pretty much the same. This is what you saw last week. Seismic, volcanic, and magnetic pole migration data say Earth continues moving through the first Earth change lull period for the 2016 orbit cycle relative to the Black Star, moving left in the orbit diagram from the Virgo constellation to the Libra constellation, just below the ecliptic plane relative to the Sun. If you click on this link here, then you'll see pretty much what I want to show you here with Stellarium. And the plane runs this way. You see Mars and you see Jupiter. Doesn't matter where you are on the planet because, believe it or not, the Earth is round. It's rotating on its axis every 24 hours. And so I set this on just about 9 o'clock so that whether you live in India, whether you live in the United States or Europe, you go out around 8 o'clock. This is where we see it from Florida at this time. Then you'll see it's difficult to make out the Virgo constellation, but you can see Spica, which appears to be directly between Jupiter and Mars at this time. And that's going to be the butt side of the Virgo constellation. Legs are kind of up in the air like this. And from Earth perspective, let me show you the solar system here for a second. From Earth perspective, because Mars position, this is on July 28th, from where the Sun is, the Black Star is at the feet of Virgo going this way. But from Earth perspective, see, you got to come over here and look at where our telescopes are sitting on Earth looking backwards. The Black Star, if we were directly between the Sun, like at the alignment, remember April the 28th when we had our alignment? So our position relative to the Black Star is the same as the Sun. We'd be looking pretty much at the feet of Virgo to be able to find it. But Earth, notice how it's passed Mars up. So Mars appears to be retrograding backwards from its actual position relative to the Sun. Mars is in Sagittarius, but from Earth, if we're looking at it, it appears to be in Libra. And the Black Star the same way. So the Black Star on the alignment is over here just below the plane at the feet of Virgo, but because we are moving faster left in the orbit diagram, the Black Star is actually going to appear to be just about the center, well, actually a little to the right, just below the plane. See Spica right here? It's going to be just behind it. And it's going to continue moving backwards this way until we get to the 90-degree angle mark. And that's going to take a little bit longer till we get around to the 90-degree angle relative to the Black Star, which should be in the month of August. So that's why the Black Star appeared, if we could see it, it would appear to be backing up. So even though relative to the Sun it's at the feet of Virgo, from Earth position, looking back on it, it's actually backtracking into Virgo. So this is a second birth, if you will. But because it backs up into Virgo and then comes out again. Whenever we're on near orbit for 6 months, just draw a line from the feet of Virgo, draw this 90-degree line right here. Then the Earth is on for 6 months on the near side of the Sun relative to the Black Star, and then for 6 months it's going behind the Sun relative to the Black Star. So the Black Star, just like the planets, they would appear to be, while the Earth is moving more rapidly around the Sun, being closer, then they appear to be retrograding. But on the back side, then the Earth is moving in this direction, and then we can see the planets that they're actually moving in the same direct prograde fashion around the Sun. So that's pretty typical. But you just need to realize at the alignments, our position relative to the Black Star is the same as the Sun at the alignments. But at 90-degree angles, whenever this is outside orbit position line this way, then we're looking sideways. If we're around here in winter orbit, we're 2 astronomical units further away than where we are in the summer, just because of Earth natural movement around the Sun. And that Earth natural movement around the Sun is what causes the upticks in the lull period. So around here in February, when we're heading towards the Black Star, the magnetic portal connection is shortening rapidly. But then after the alignment, and there's a lot of commentary in this newsletter about that, about CERN, when they turn it on, the scheduling. I show you the schedule. There's questions about CERN, whether CERN's doing this. What they're doing is scheduling the CERN operations around the alignments, front and back side, because that's when we have most of the activity. So since we're having the alignments in April, they're going to turn it on in March. And then when the Black Star starts doing this, they're going to heat up CERN. They're going to go through their test modes and start bashing subatomic particles together, and then they're going to take credit. They're going to say, hey, look, CERN's doing it. No, it's the inbound Black Star that's doing it. Big disinformation program. So I write on that extensively in this newsletter, and I make reference to it in this update report. Let me get back if I can over here. I make reference to it down here, a little bit lower, in Sandy's CERN article that starts on page 9, commentary on that. You get more information what's going on there. So looking at the seismic readings for week 24, remember this is not the calendar, the same calendar week, but relative to the black star. So this has been starting 12 days later each year because of Earth natural, because of the black star movement left in the orbit diagram. So it takes longer. Let me show you the solar system again. To begin the new cycle, we have to be at this 90-degree angle mark. So if the black star, well, let's turn the solar system around just a little bit, and then we can make it grow just a little bit. Then when we reach this 90-degree angle over here, you see how it's in the first week of February? That's when we start moving towards the black star. That ends the lull period because we're moving away from the black star. It's going this way, we're going this way. But then we start moving towards it. That's the first Earth change uptick period. It's caused by the Earth natural movement around the sun. As soon as we come into alignment, then we start moving away from it. That causes the lull period. The slower, because the black star moved only left in the orbit diagram 3 degrees for 2015 to 2016, averaging 12 degrees prior to that, and this is due to the magnetic repulsion and the new direction that the black star is actually taking. It was coming in on elliptical orbit, and then it's transitioning to a circular orbit, and 2016 appears to be the edge of the keyhole. If you guys have been following the research, you know what that means. So I'm not going to know more until the new pattern. There's going to be a new pattern. Don't know what it is. Is it going to be another 3-degree move for for this year? Whenever we come around the sun again and we have our near side alignment, is it going to be on right around May the 1st, or is it going to be later in May? Is the new cycle going to include that it's adding more days or less days? If it's adding less days, it's moving slower and slower, which is difficult for me to fathom that would happen. But we need to get the Earth to outside orbit position and get my minimum values. There's going to be 2 sub 200 values for the 2.5 to 4 magnitude earthquakes when we get out to here. 2 sub 20 values for the 5 magnitude earthquakes. That's the pattern that we've had for years. That's what I expect to see. When is that going to happen? Is it going to happen early? Is it going to happen late? Whether it happens early or late, it's going to give us some indication. Then we need to come all the way around behind the sun relative to the black star. You know, how far into Libra is the black star? We're going to have a backside alignment. These alignment events have been happening later than expected, but they are backtracking. They were 3 weeks late, 2013, 2014. Then last year, I expected it to happen 3 weeks late as scheduled, and it didn't. It just happened a little bit late, a week and a half to 2 weeks late. So these backside alignments are trying to back up to match the front side alignments, but they just haven't done that yet. But the Earth has to go to outside orbit position over here and then come around to here before we're going to have enough data to even begin speculating on leftward movement of the black star. I know that it's in this neck of the woods, but I don't know exactly where it is anymore, like I used to when it was making a 12-degree move every year. There's something strange that's going on, and I know enough to know that I don't know. I really don't know what's going on here. But the Earth is going to testify. It's going to tell us where the black star is. We just have to follow the testimony of the Earth and the Sun and the changing planets, particularly Jupiter. See, look at Jupiter relative to the Sun. It's in Virgo. It's not far. The black star is inside of Jupiter orbit. I'm fairly confident of that. It's moving 30 degrees left in the orbit diagram each year. So it's catching up on the black star position because the black star is moving more like a black hole would in space rather than obeying the regular laws of physics. And it has to do with that magnetic repulsion that's growing as it gets closer to the sun. It also wants to be repelled by the sun. So there's two opposing forces, at least, and that's the magnetic repulsion force and the gravitational force. These two influences are working together as the magnetic repulsion force is growing by more than the cube of the closing distance, and the gravitational influence is growing by only the square of the closing distance. So that's causing this elliptical orbit to transition to something more circular that I think has these bulges on it. But again, people write and they want to know, well, where I know it's in this general area of space. I know it's inside of Jupiter orbit. But is it inside of Mars orbit? So in 2012, when Mars had its dust storms, they came from the backside of Mars, which was the mysterious aspect. Just Google mystery Martian dust storm March 12, 2012. Just Google it. And you'll see that the dust storm was mysterious because it started on the nighttime side. That tells me, and that's the same day as the magnetopause reversal of Earth. Google that too, magnetopause reversal. All that information is in the Dropbox folder for all newsletter subscribers. You can just get it there. But if you're not a subscriber, you got to go online and get that stuff. So just Google it and you'll see the reasoning behind what I'm telling you right here. It was between Jupiter and Venus orbit path in 2012. But the Martian dust storms this time in 2016, they were predicted in advance, but I didn't get the mystery behind thing in the keywording of the articles. So it could be very near Mars orbit. Mars was definitely influenced by the black star on this cycle. Definitely. That's what doesn't have the robust magnetosphere like we have. So near proximity at the same time that the Earth is passing between the two stars. These magnetic portal connections close together, pardon me. And then it creates these highly charged ionic clouds. And we're also seeing more signs of auroras on Jupiter. And I just saw a story on the news today about photographs of Earth from space. I got you behind the sun here. Let's get you back to present. Actual time. But of the Earth and Jupiter, more auroras. And that's because of two magnetic portal connections connected to our planet. The sun appears to be going to sleep, but it's because the black star is siphoning that energy off and redirecting it. So the Earth is going to be hot, hot, hot. It's getting hotter and hotter. Jupiter's getting hotter and hotter too. And as it does, that's why the probe was sent there, because of the changes that are taking place in the inner solar system. All of this is evidence that we have an interloper and it's in this neck of the woods. Lots of data saying that it's in this neck of the woods. But when is it going to cross Earth orbit path? I don't know. That was May the 20th, 2017, whenever this thing was making a 12-degree move left in the orbit diagram I thought would remain constant. But it's not. It's slowing down more than I thought, leftward movement in the orbit diagram. So until there's more data, the Earth has to testify, then I'm just telling you, I don't know. But when I do know, you'll know first because you're watching these black star update reports. Let me get back over here. So this is pretty much what we should be looking at. There are mirror images of 1.6 magnitude earthquake for 2014. This was our biggest seismic year, 2014. Earth is maintaining equilibrium more easily because through each Earth change uptick period and lull period, Earth expands and contracts, expands and contracts. Earth crust is becoming more elastic. So the pressures can't build up to give us these big giant earthquake events until the big convergence of these magma waves take place. And we can look at the earthquake chart here, the earthquake 3D, and I can show you a little bit of what that means. This is just for the last day and what is it, day and a half, 2 days, something like that. So what we have going on here is at the beginning of each Earth change low period, this is the origination zone where the activity generally kicks off. And then it spreads north across this way through Kamchatka, Japan, Kamchatka, Aleutians, and it spreads across this way. If you notice that this line of activity here points over here to Chile. That's where we had the 8.3 that created a reset in the entire Pacific Ocean ring of fire, tectonic dynamic. Okay, so we're going moving to the lull period, and I'm expecting these waves to retreat back this way and retreat this way. What we're actually looking at are rising magma plumes from the deep earthquake activity. So this is the convergence zone. Let's look at the depths. See how deep these babies are over here, even through the low period. 500, what's that number? 573 kilometers deep, just about to the transition zone over there. During the uptick period, these deep quakes jump over to this side. We're in the low period, not happening right now. That's the way it should be. Activity on the mid-Atlantic ridge appears to be slowing down, which it should be doing. Once the uptick period starts again, then we're going to see this uptick going up towards the North Pole and down to the South Pole. Mid-Atlantic ridge. We're in the low period. In previous orbit cycles, we had no activity here. So this is an indicator of things to come, of the changes that are going to take place here. So there's a pretty large, deep event right there. But if you've been following my updates for years, then you know this was a California quake swarm area down here. It's proliferated north. It's at the Canadian border, even. Yeah, it's at the Canadian border, and it already encompasses Yellowstone. That's why there's going to be more and more reports about Yellowstone. The more activity you have, particularly deeper earthquakes. Here's a 26-kilometer earthquake right here. As you get more and more of these deep earthquakes, the crust here is about 60 kilometers deep along the coast here, 210, 250 kilometers at the North American Craton. These plates pressed up against the North American Craton are relaxing since Solomon Island, February 6, 2013. Created extra space in this entire dynamic in this network here. And the extra space, these tectonic plates are wanting to shift this way to fill in the gap. It's creating additional space between the plates, and thus the new line of activity that you see right here from Texas pointing up to Seattle, and that line has even moved a little eastward so that it's pointing more up towards Alaska with larger events through here. But we still have the dead zone, Cascadia, subduction zone. So as the next uptick period begins, it's going to begin August the 19th. It's going to go through to about the 1st of December, then we should see a deepening of these earthquake events. And I want to add in the volcanic eruptions right here. 2 volcanic eruptions in Russia, and I didn't really see this coming because we're in the lull period. This shouldn't be happening yet, but with the shifting dynamic of what's going on, Pacific Ocean Ring Fire, anything can happen. Pressure is shifting from Indonesia over to the Americas. I really expected this to come later in the timeline, say after August the 19th, but here it is already. We'll see if this persists, if it pushes toward the Aleutians in Alaska, or, and I should be showing you on this, we'll see if that pressure, because you got new volcanic eruptions in this area, the islands of Russia, and we're going to watch to see if that pressure moves this way through the Aleutians to Alaska, or if it retreats back through Japan, coming back this way towards the Philippines and Indonesia. Now, part of the pattern that's going on. The other is the Hawaiian Islands at Kilauea, and then Guatemala. Central America, that's where the wave seems to, we had a lot of deep activity in South America, and this is a percolator effect, these rising magma plumes, and it's looking for a pressure relief mechanism. So it's a dynamic deal, and these magma plumes do not necessarily rise straight up. And the seismic activity in Guatemala, the recent activity that we've seen over the last 3 or 4 months, likely contributor. So whenever this investigation began, everything was pretty much separate with the volcanism and the earthquake events, although we had more volcanism and earthquakes. I mean, there was a pattern there at the alignments. Like we saw this year. We averaged 8 new volcanic eruptions through April. We had 9, 9, 7, and 8. And then now we're seeing 3, 4, and maybe 5 as a high mark going through the low period. So the Kilauea is an indication that, and Hawaii's been more in the news because of the pressure shift, the larger pressure shift, Indonesia over to the Americas. This is a halfway point we're talking about right here. So again, we're going to watch to see if this Russian activity continues moving towards the Americas. I really don't expect that to happen until after August 19th, but I'm going to keep an eye on it anyway. And then this is like a remnant deal with Guatemala, the leftover from the last uptick period. That's the way I see it. And we're going to watch whenever the uptick period begins to see how much activity comes up from South America and how far that presses through Mexico, because these pressures are moving from the north, being blocked right now through Cascadia, that's locked, and from the south. And I originally thought that we would have a Cascadia linchpin quake event that was going to bring the pressures in. It's looking more likely that this is going to remain locked, and that the pressures that influence Yellowstone the heaviest are going to come from the south. That's what it's looking like. Then this is the convergence zone. So you have deeper activity to the north and to the south. This is relatively flat. And eventually this pressure is going to come up through here, and these earthquake depths are going to get into the 20s, which during the uptick period we see them 22, 28, even up to 55 kilometers. It's when they get below the crust, below that 60-kilometer mark, that you're going to start seeing those rising magma plumes, and you're going to see more and more warnings about the bulging calderas and Yellowstone. That is going to happen. It's during the uptick period that I'm going to be making more and more reports about that. We're in the lull, so you're seeing reduced activity. And I think I can close. If you have an idea between Mars and Jupiter over here, Spica, it looks like a planet right between them. You might think that it's Saturn or something. Saturn is actually over here. The plane runs this way, like this. But it's Spica, and if you look just to the right of Spica, just about in this neck of the woods right here, that's where the black star, right in the middle of Virgo. On the bottom side of it, it's about not even a degree below the ecliptic plane, so it's going to be just about right in this area right here. That's where the black star is. I want to shut this program down. Okay, let's get back over here to the newsletter right here, and I'm encouraging you to look more and more in the patterns. And I do report down here. I provide a link. I'm brand new to Excel, never used it before, and as time permits, I want to learn more and more about what's going on and show you. I created some charts. I wasn't happy with them at all. I'm going to have to do some different labeling and different things. So as time permits, then I'm going to be working on that. Eventually, you're going to see a parallel between these new charts that I'm going to generate and this chart. I'm going to 2013, 2014, 15. I'll try to use the same coloring, and then you'll be able to correlate the information between what's going on with the migrating magnetic North Pole and with the new series of seismic charts that are coming on. Please be patient with me. Lots and lots of things are going on with me personally, and there's been a death, and there's funerals, and there's things like that that I don't really need to bring up here, but I am making slow progress, and just give me some time, and then I'm going to start posting those charts with this Black Star update report. Then see, is that all I wanted to show with you? Oh yeah, I want to show you the parallels. If you look at 2014, then you're going to see much higher seismic numbers, and they're diminishing for 2015. I can show you 2015 right here, or they have that pulled up. Through this period, then 1 to 3 6 magnitude earthquakes is what you should expect. Week 25 is coming up, and for 2014 and 2015, we saw a 7 magnitude earthquake in week 25. And in 2015, we had another 7 magnitude earthquake in week 27. So even though we're in a lull period, and you see what happened back in 2015, you see these sub 200 values for the 2.5 to 4 magnitude earthquakes. This is a precursor. This is telling you that we got bigger stuff coming. So look at this 533 here. 2.5 to 4 magnitude earthquakes. 533 in a single week. But it's obviously in combination with these large earthquake events, right? We haven't seen those yet. But now we're in week 24. Don't be surprised if we don't see a bounce here. And these 2.5s, you see how we're already at the sub 200 values right here. This is not at outside orbit position, where we're going to see 2 of these in between week 24 and week 30. If you go back to last year, 24, see the 199? This year, 196. But then what happened after that? 199, look at the next week. Doesn't mean it's going to happen as the Earth is trying to maintain equilibrium. Doesn't mean it's going to happen the same exact way. Last year, we had a 12-degree move in the orbit diagram for the black star. I'm going to come back over here and show you. A 12-degree move. Let's just imagine for a minute, bring the Earth back over here, and let's just imagine that the black star is right here. So at the alignment, see, we're coming up on it, getting closer to it. But at the alignment, then we start moving away from it like this, creating the lull period. So the big activity and then the lull period. But here's the deal. The 12-degree move left in the orbit diagram is now only 3. So when the Earth, just imagine this is a race car on the inside lane. We're going the same speed, 66,000 miles per hour. The black star, instead of 12-degree move, only made a 3-degree move. So we started really racing past it really, really fast. And what that did is create red values in the seismic chart right here. They're so low. They're way, way, way too low. So this is strong evidence that the seismic data is telling us the black star slowed down leftward movement from the magnetic repulsion. So, but now we're just about on course. And remember when I was making these reports through here, shaking my head going, what the world's going on here? I said things are going to stabilize and they're going to become pretty much what we saw previous years. So now we are looking at the old pattern. But the thing to keep in mind is it was only a 3-degree move. The Earth raced past it. Now as we're getting outside orbit position, things are pretty much the same. But I still expect to see these jumps. It may not be as severe because the black star slowed down even more. They may not be as severe, but don't be surprised if you see another sub 200 value, because we had 2 in a row for 2015, and then see 300 and something, or right around 300 here, or even 500. Don't be surprised. And if we have this large activity, if we do not have this large activity, then these larger bounces are not going to happen, obviously. But so just don't be surprised, and I won't be surprised if Dutch Sense predicted it, or Suspicious Observer says the sun did it, or whatever. But this is what this is what the evidence from the historical evidence from what's happened before. This is the pattern of what it says without looking at anything else. This is what we've seen historically. As long as you begin the new orbit cycle later in the year and don't go by the calendar weeks, then this is what the data is saying here. But looking at the magnetic North Pole, this is pretty interesting because from the 19th of July to the 26th of July, look at the small move for 2015. And up here, from the 19th to the 26th, look at the little bitty move. Same thing up here. But look at this year. Big, giant move. But remember, it's taking a much wider track, so it has to move more rapidly to keep up with what it did on previous cycles. When you draw a line from the 0 position through the 26th, you notice we're still trailing by about the 2 days. I'm looking for that to be a 3-day delay. There was a 3-day delay in the seismic chart because 2015, the alignment event was on April 25th. This year was on April 28th. That's 3 days. That's 3 degrees. 365 days, 360 degrees in a circle, and that should be a 3-day delay. And that's just about exactly what we have here. So when we get to this negative 360 mark, we're going to see, last year was on September the 8th, we're going to see if it's on September the 5th. That's what I'm watching for, and we'll see. And then again, I'm going to make some charts, color code them similar to this, and try to make a better presentation. I appreciate the encouragement from Sandy and others encouraging me to provide more information here, make the reports better. And so I'm looking forward to do that, and I'll get those charts out again as time permits. Okay, so project supporters, I'm a little bit surprised. We had 3 weeks go by, no new support, and usually in the summer that's the way that it is, but this is an exception to the rule, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Pardon me. Pardon me. Project supporters for this week include, I think that you say that, Thera Games, or the Rag Games, I don't know, but new supporter for the research, and then Calm and Donald, Doug, Richard, and Angela. They all visited Terralo3.com. They became 2016 subscribers. This might be for the summer, definitely. This is a record week. So they have full benefits for the life of their subscription. Sylvia, Tina, Wallace, and Thomas renewed their subscriptions from previous years, and Randy made another donation to the research. Then I go on about summertime is usually the slowest. This is the exception. And then there's a reminder here, more and more activity on scripture stuff, on the 3 witnesses of God's word, and they're asking, I was asked if there's a page to go to, which is Terralo3.com, the scripture section, videos, a link to my radio show, 2-hour radio show just on the scripture topic, and then my book, The Mystery Explained. If you go through those 6 introductory videos and listen to the radio show and begin my book, I'm happy to answer any questions that you want. If you want to bring me your theology and debate me, I don't want anything to do with anything like that. That's what I did in my younger days every day, like this Project Black Star investigation. There are not enough hours in the day for me to try to fix people's broken theology. Generally, they're mixing the blood and the water together, New Testament, kingdom doctrine versus grace doctrine. They don't know the difference. And people are asking me, well, how come they don't know the difference? And I point them to the great delusion, the deluding influence. That's just the way that it is. But with that said, you can believe whatever you want to believe. But if you are interested in seeing God's wisdom hidden in plain sight, that's another good reason to become a subscriber, because then you can send me your Bible questions every single day for the life of your subscription. That's what I do. I'm sitting here answering people's questions, posting. They send me articles, posting them in this newsletter, and I write right here. It's my favorite thing to do is to help the members of Christ's body, those for whom Christ died, to become a stronger body. I really feel a calling to do that. So I will put down the science and answer the Bible questions for those of you who are preparing spiritually for what's coming. You're too old, you're too sick, you depend on drugs. Well, there's a million reasons that you cannot possibly join a survival group in the Ozarks. And so my view, prepare physically and prepare spiritually to the best of your ability. I really, really love doing that. Happy to help you as one of your tutors in Christ. Then some of the major stories that are going on, very top, you see the most important ones here, and particularly the ones where I'm going to give my commentary in the featured section here. Earth magnetic field, rapid movement south, CERN, heat wave, things like that. Just a little bit of commentary here, but there's more of that. Like I said, here's one. I don't know if you can answer this, from Bonnie. And so she sends her questions, just like you guys. Subscribe. You can change the narrative of these videos and my radio show, what appears in the newsletters. Because you go to Terralo3.com, you become a subscriber, and then you begin sending me your questions. Just like Bonnie, right here. She supports the research, and now she's a contributor. Sends in a lot of stuff for the newsletter. You guys can do that too, and help what you think is important on the internet. The stories you think are important, you send to me, and I will post them, whether I give a comment or not. Because we're one body working together. The more eyes that are looking and sharing, the more people. Some people are like me, some people are like you. They're going to see from your perspective. Some people are going to see from your perspective way better than they are ever going to be from mine. And so I encourage that. And whether I agree with it, the 2 sun pictures and things like that, I have trouble putting in here. I know it's fake. You cannot take a picture of a black hole. This thing behaves more like a black hole. So Don has explained it, our project astronomer. I've explained it. Some people get it, some people don't. And you're free to believe, these people take these 2 sun pictures every day of the year because it's part of the lenses. The ghosting, lens flare anomalies, there's a lot of ways to get false images. There's a lot of ways to doctor images, and that's really interesting. Could recent videos be Photoshop? Anybody can Photoshop anything and put it on the internet. We use the earth changes. The earth is telling us what's happening. When you start trying to depend on photographic imagery, then you're going to be fooled and duped. And I ain't no dupe. Pardon? Well, sometimes I don't use good grammar, but with the help of Don, resident astronomer, now working with him for years, sent him enough photos, I see the pattern in that stuff too. And so there's some things that are not going to make it in here. If it's going to lead people deliberately, it seems to me, deliberately astray, I'm not going to put it in there. And I just feel in my conscience that I can't convey information. So there's quite a bit of commentary here, free links to old newsletters, and and things like that. The CERN information, lots of it. This is what Sandy sent in. Almost didn't make it into this newsletter, but then after I went through the information, then I saw that what was going on. This is her comments, what she writes here, just like you can. I'd like to see your name here, and this is what you wrote. This is what you feel. Send the link. And then here's my reply right here to help you get a grasp on how CERN is a diversion. It's a distraction. And here's a link to the document showing the scheduling, and you can see in the scheduling how they crank this thing up in March just before the alignment. They know where the thing is. They know when to turn it on. These events were predicted in advance, and they all happened because this thing is coming from outer space. It affects the sun. It affects the flare activity, Martian dust storms, magnetopolis collapse, big volcanism, and the seismic uptick. That is not caused by CERN. And here's the thing in a nutshell about CERN. They are crashing subatomic particles together. That's not very sophisticated. This is reproducing what happens naturally in the universe. Things exactly like this are happening naturally. It's not creating vortices to other dimensions or any of that stuff. That's disinformation. And like I say, the Wright brothers had a better chance of flying supersonic in their first airplane than these CERN people have of doing any of this stuff that we're talking about here. They are coinciding their events with the black star that is affecting our planet. From global warming to ocean conveyor disruption caused by depletion of the northern ice sheets, the jet stream fluctuations that you're seeing now more and more in these newsletters, this is caused by the binary twin to our sun that's coming to the inner solar system. And once you get that key, that master key, you can see through the disinformation of all these other things. The elite are using the internet, the lamestream media, and viral scream in order to have you focus on them as they're the cause of all this, and rather than what's really coming from space. I've got just a little bit of time left here. And the really big one, this is a spin-off article, the Cascadia Subduction Zone, of the Big One story 2015 from the New Yorker. And that link is posted at the very bottom of this. And this is the area, the dead zone that I was showing you over there. This is where the linchpin event is going to take place. It's going to affect everybody that lives on the Pacific Ocean. Everybody that lives on the Pacific Ocean will be affected by this, by tsunamis at a long distance. But what this is going to do to the United States, once these earthquake activity gets deep and deeper and deeper, and you get these rising magma plumes, the magma that supports, that's heavy, that supports this land, these plates right here, is going to be displaced by the lighter magma that rises up in these magma plumes. It's going to build up, press up against, like bubbles, rising up and pressing against the crust until the entire region is affected. And then just Google Scallion map of the future, Navy map of the future, you'll see what happens afterwards. That pressure shifts over to New Madrid, through the Appalachians. People are asking me about safe zones in the Appalachians. There are none. There is no safe zone area east of the Mississippi River Basin. There's zero. 200 nuclear power plants are over there. You cannot be anywhere in that area. And whenever the liquefaction starts in the Mississippi River Basin, you're not going to be able to cross over onto the stable North American craton. That's stable. So you say, yeah, there's nuclear power plants. There's a few over on in the central United States, but they're on stable ground. New American craton, stable. East and west, there are no safe zone locations in the United States. And I can, in good conscience, send you there to places that I know aren't safe. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you. Lots and tons of information and lots of survival. Remember that the recent radio show, the 728, will appear after my radio show, 4 to 5 o'clock. And if you've already tried to download this newsletter, there are 3 versions. The first one is just to generate the link for the newsletter. Then it's uploaded again before the radio show, and then it's radio. The only change after the radio show is the addition of this link right here. This is the radio section, and some permanent links with Bad Baby, Project Black Star, The Inside Job, and the 3 Witnesses of Scripture. These are permanent links. And Royce, he died recently, my good friend at Revolution Radio. He interviewed me a couple of times, and so here's this information. And Mark Snyder interview, Jim Nichols interview, things like I used to do a lot of interviews. Just don't do that many anymore. Pretty much stick to my Black Star Update report. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you for this week. Don't think I left anything out. Everything should be included. We looked at the solar system. I showed you the position. Okay, very good. So I will thank you guys very much again for supporting the research. And this is quite a list. before I go, take an extra second here. That project supporters, Thera Games, is that how you say it? Colm, Donald, Doug, Richard, and Angela, they all went to Terlo3.com. And then Sylvia, Tina, Wallace, and Thomas, they all renewed their subscriptions for previous year. And Randy, bless her heart, made another donation to the research. She might be the biggest supporter of the research, and she just came on in December 2015. But very, very good supporter of the research. Appreciate Randy and Mike very, very much. I hear Mike's doing much, much better from old Grumpy. Don't tell Mike I said that, Randy. And but anyway, thank you guys again for supporting the research. You guys are the ones that make it possible, and I will see you guys again on the next Black Star Update Report. Hello, YouTube and newsletter subscribers. This is Terrell from Terrell3.com. Today is July 28th, 2016. This is the Black Star Update Report connected to Volume 30 of Terrell's 2016 newsletter. And we're still going through the lull period, so the update is going to look pretty much the same. This is what you saw last week. Seismic, volcanic, and magnetic pole migration data say Earth continues moving through the first Earth change lull period for the 2016 orbit cycle relative to the Black Star, moving left in the orbit diagram from the Virgo constellation to the Libra constellation, just below the ecliptic plane relative to the Sun. If you click on this link here, then you'll see pretty much what I want to show you here with Stellarium. And the plane runs this way. You see Mars, and you see Jupiter. Doesn't matter where you are on the planet, because believe it or not, the Earth is round. It's rotating on its axis every 24 hours. And so I set this on just about 9 o'clock, so that whether you live in India, whether you live in the United States or Europe, you go out around 8 o'clock. This is where we see it from Florida at this time. Then you'll see, it's difficult to make out the Virgo constellation, but you can see Spica, which appears to be directly between Jupiter and Mars at this time. And that's going to be the butt side of the Virgo constellation. Legs are kind of up in the air like this. And from Earth perspective, let me show you the solar system here for a second. From Earth perspective, because Mars position, this is on July 28th, from where the Sun is, Black Star is at the feet of Virgo going this way. But from Earth perspective, see, you got to come over here and look at where our telescopes are sitting on Earth looking backwards. The Black Star, if we were directly between the Sun, like at the alignment, remember April the 28th when we had our alignment? So our position relative to the Black Star is the same as the Sun. We'd be looking pretty much at the feet of Virgo to be able to find it. But Earth, notice how it's passed Mars up. So Mars appears to be retrograding backwards from its actual position relative to the Sun. Mars is in Sagittarius, but from Earth, if we're looking at it, it appears to be in Libra. And the Black Star the same way. So the Black Star on the alignment is over here just below the plane at the feet of Virgo, but because we are moving faster left in the orbit diagram, the Black Star is actually going to appear to be just about the center, well, actually a little to the right, just below the plane. See Spica right here? It's going to be just behind it. And it's going to continue moving backwards this way until we get to the 90-degree angle mark. And that's going to take a little bit longer till we get around to the 90-degree angle relative to the Black Star, which should be in the month of August. So that's why the Black Star appeared, if we could see it, it would appear to be backing up. So even though relative to the Sun it's at the feet of Virgo, from Earth position, looking back on it, it's actually backtracking into Virgo. So this is a second birth, if you will, but because it backs up into Virgo and then comes out again. Whenever we're on near orbit for 6 months, just draw a line from the feet of Virgo, draw this 90-degree line right here. Then the Earth is on for 6 months on the near side of the Sun relative to the Black Star, and then for 6 months it's going behind the Sun relative to the Black Star. So the Black Star, just like the planets, they would appear to be, while the Earth is moving more rapidly around the Sun, being closer, then they appear to be retrograding. But on the back side, then the Earth is moving in this direction, and then we can see the planets that they're actually moving in the same direct prograde fashion around the Sun. So that's pretty typical, but you just need to realize at the alignments, our position relative to the Black Star is the same as the Sun at the alignments. But at 90-degree angles, whenever this is outside orbit position line this way, then we're looking sideways. If we're around here in winter orbit, we're 2 astronomical units further away than where we are in the summer, just because of Earth natural movement around the Sun. And that Earth natural movement around the Sun is what causes the upticks in the lull period. So around here in February, when we're heading towards the black star, the magnetic portal connection is shortening rapidly. But then after the alignment, and there's a lot of commentary in this newsletter about that, about CERN, when they turn it on, the scheduling. I show you the schedule. There's questions about CERN, whether CERN's doing this. What they're doing is scheduling the CERN operations around the alignments, front and back side, because that's when we have most of the activity. So since we're having the alignments in April, they're going to turn it on in March. And then when the black star starts doing this, they're going to heat up CERN. They're going to go through their test modes and start bashing subatomic particles together, and then they're going to take credit. They're going to say, hey, look, CERN's doing it. No, it's the inbound black star that's doing it. Big disinformation program. So I write on that extensively in this newsletter, and I make reference to it in this update report. Let me get back if I can over here. I make reference to it down here, a little bit lower, and Sandy's CERN article that starts on page 9, commentary on that. You get more information.